Trading Room weekly confirmations recap. No victory laps, no cherry picking, just reviewing what actually confirmed and what didn't. Because the edge isn't being right, it's about following the process consistently. Last week we walked through some confirmations, not predictions. Today, we're reviewing the outcomes through the same lens. A setup didn't trigger is not a failed trade. It's a successful filter. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the chart. So first up, we have snow. So on the monthly time frame, we're still holding the 12 EMA, so that's good. And on the week, we really didn't make much movement. It's still sitting in a bullish order block, so it's going to sweep soon. Long as it rejects the down move under this order block, we're in good shape. Go ahead and move to the 3-day. As you can see, we did make an up move totally, but it just came back down. It's still holding this trend line perfectly good. So on the 1-day, here's the 3 days that it's traded right here. So the first day, we actually reclaimed the 12 EMA, but we failed to reclaim the 12 EMA and the 200. And that's why we got that pullback on the daily time frames. Going ahead and moving to the 4-hour, we still have a internal order block that's holding this thing up. As you can see, the WTMA is starting to curl downward, but it's going to curl downward into this order block, and we may see a liquidity sweep, a sell side liquidity sweep to the downside for the next up move. Moving on to the 2-hour, as you can see, it has already curled since yesterday morning, and then it reclaimed after this liquidity sweep here. So now the WTMA on the 2 hours is acting as resistance, as so the 4-hour as well. So as long as we get above this liquidity shelf right here, as you can see on the VRVP we have, once we pass 225.34, it is easily headed to 228, to 230, to 231, 232, and upwards up to 236. That's it for snow. Speaking of snow, cue the music.
All the weather outside.
You're right. My bad, action. So on to the next chart. aapl, Apple. So as you can see on the monthly, we still have a floating formation on the monthly, so that's extremely good. We didn't break under the previous month low as well, or the previous week's low, so that's pretty good. On the weekly time frame, we still have a 12 EMA reclaim, so it actually swept liquidity at the bottom of the 12 EMA, and now it's trying to make another up move. You can see that more clear on the 3-day time frame. As you can see, this whole block right here is where institutions buy it. So as you can see, they tried to push down price under it, and it rejected that move very violently because this is a 3-day candle. So it happened very fast. Looking at the 1-day time frame, as you can see, that 1 wick on the 3-day was actually done in 1 day. So as you can see, came down, tried to sweep liquidity, and pop back up instantly. So institutions are trying to hold this level pretty good. So eventually this WTMA, this green and red signal line, is going to become the liquidity line for the sell side. And once we claim the 12 EMA, we can cleanly make an up move. On the 4-hour, we're still holding above the trend line and above institutional buy area. We actually closed over the 12 EMA now. So this is probably the best opportunity to get in if you're looking at getting into Apple. However, on the 2-hour, we still have the inverse arc trying to reclaim over the 200 MA, and we have a trend line coming down. It got rejected by that trend line, and this cluster of sell orders that institutions are selling Apple at. That's what's really stopping. That's what really is stopping Apple from making a huge move up right now. And remember, this week was on low volume. All right, next we have SoFi, SOFI. So still holding that monthly up move. So nothing crazy happened. It actually rejected the downside move, like I said beforehand. However, on the weekly, it's still trapped under this liquidity formed by the WTMA and this volume cluster right here. So in order for SoFi to move up, we would need a fresh inverse arc on the 3-day and the weekly for it to make an up move. It would have to close and open above the WTMA. So at approximately 29.26, it would have to close over that and open above that for it to continue the uptrend. Moving on to the 3-day, as you can see, institutions are still holding this level. However, every time price comes up, hits liquidity, they drive the price back down, trying to make retail sellers panic and sell or hit their stop loss orders. When they hit their stop loss orders, that's when institutions grab the cheaper price and they make more profit as price goes up. So this is perfectly normal on a 3-day time frame. Looking at the 1-day on SoFi, as you can see on Monday, it did gap up, come down to the 12 EMA, hopped off of that one, and closed still reclaiming that 12 EMA. And then yesterday it dropped down and rejected the downside move. And today on a super low volume day, it actually pushed up. So SoFi is still in that great buy range to go long. Looking at the 4-hour, as you can see, this was our lock candle here. There's our floating candle there. Could have entered there or wait for a pullback later, which occurred 12 hours later. So you would see this up move and you'll wait for a pullback. As you can see, the 200 EMA caused that pullback, and this high volume cluster caused that pullback. Came right back down to the 12 EMA and the WTMA and the WTMA cloud. You grab an entry right here and you would be up instantly. All right, looking at the 2-day, we have pricing in a internal bearish order block right now, right under the 200 EMA cloud, and it just broke a trend line. So that is very good in SoFi's favor. So what we're looking for is a close over 27.66, and I would prefer over the 200 EMA. And then you can easily see these empty nodes right here for an acceleration up to at least 25.50, and then 29.07, and then 29.80 or 79. That's it for SoFi. Moving on to Micron. So as you can see on the monthly time frame, this thing is ripping like no other. So no change on there other than the price that it's currently at. On the weekly, it's still holding above the WTMA, actually forming a floating candle. So a floating candle is when the candle does not touch the WTMA or the 12 EMA. So that's extremely bullish. On the 3-day, it formed a fair value gap with a fresh inverse arc with another floating candle. All of that is still above the WTMA cloud, which is extremely bullish. Looking at the daily time frame, as you can see on Monday, it formed a doji. On Tuesday, it formed a doji. Well, let me backtrack to Monday. It formed a doji on a fair value gap, and then formed a doji on yesterday. And then today, the indecision was gone once bulls ran this thing up. And the height of this candle was at 289.30. So 300 is probably incoming very soon. Looking at the 4-hour, we still are holding above the WTMA. So I'm looking for a continuation to the upside on this. And on the 2-hour, that 12 EMA told the entire story on the 2-hour. You could have got in right here last Thursday and just rolled it up. Like, it's insane. Oh yeah, great reminder. So for my wolf chart users, what do you see when the 4-hour 12 EMA and WTMA crosses over the WTMA cloud? I'll give you a hint. It's already circled. Yeah, you see parabolic movement. So the last time the 12 EMA and WTMA crossed over the WTMA cloud, Micron ripped. It went up $127.72 in 68 days. But heck, even if you would have held it after that rip, you would have got something like this. $164 in 110 days. You're talking about a heck of a leap. That is all. And last but certainly not least, we have cava. So on the 1 month time frame, you can clearly see that cava has hit its temporary bottom and now it's looking to rebound. So we're still waiting on that 12 EMA recapture or reclaim for the up move to go. And no, you can't see the WTMA because cava is still fresh on the stock market. Moving on to the 1 week. As you can see, cava has reclaimed the 12 EMA, which is super good for cava. It has a huge upside potential. So we have a fresh inverse arc from last week. Now we have a Marabazu candle. On the week, so it went nothing but up the entire week. No wicks, no anything. Looking at the 3-day, as you can see, the 3-day got an inverse arc on the 4th of December. It just held the 12 EMA and boom, reclaimed it last week. And now we have a fresh 3-day floater. That is super good. And as you can see on the 3-day, we need to close above this liquidity here, which we did, and this liquidity at 62.57. Moving on to the 1-day. As you can see, this is where I entered the trade here. That thing ripped so much. Well, you can see my precise entry on the smaller time frames, but just on the day, since I saw the circle here, this is where I entered. And as you can see, it pushed up, came back down, dropped down, retested the WTMA, and it's been going up ever since. Looking at the 4-hour, as you can see, fresh inverse, breaker structure, 200 test, fall back, go back to the 200 again, retreat onto the WTMA, reclaim, boom, up move. And the 2-hour tells, I'm telling you, that 2-hour tells the entire story. Here was the liquidity here. We came down, inverse arc. It went up, hit the 200, came back down into this order block that it previously created. Consolidated a little bit, got a fresh inverse arc again. And this time, this up move created a breaker structure, which led to this internal order block appearing. And that's when I got in. And that's all she wrote. Literally into my TP2 where I took all of my profit. I'm looking for a rejection here into this fair value gap to re-enter and then on to TP3. Most training education only shows results after the fact. We're reviewing the decision points before the outcome. That's how you build trust in the system, not by flexing wins. So Micron and Cava were the two that showed up and showed out this week, while the other three are still pending their massive move. This week wasn't about how much the market moved. It was about whether we stayed aligned with confirmation. Same charts, same rules, same patience, regardless of the account size. The system doesn't care how much money you have, only whether you respect confirmation. If this kind of review helps you stay disciplined, Comment learn the wolf chart in the comment section. Until next time, happy holidays, happy new year, and peace.